All right, we're here for the first call of the unnamed podcast, we'll call it. And we have Tom Muldoon. I'm going to go through just a little bit of Tom's background. He was a D1 lacrosse player, played at Brown University, two-time USILA All-American, academic All-American, three-time first-team All-Ivy, Brown offensive MVP, won 2 Ivy League championships with Brown. So his collegiate list is fairly long. And then he was drafted by the Baltimore Bayhawks, subsequently drafted by the LXM Pro Tours Team Cascade, played with them for 3 years. And then a story that we're not necessarily going to get into today, but moved off the grid, lived in Hawaii, has an amazing story when it comes to there. Started up a nonprofit in Hawaii and is now living in New Mexico. We got into chatting a bit about the sport, about a game of lacrosse. And he educated me that it's more a game than a sport, and we'll definitely elaborate on that as well. But what we want to do today is just introduce Tom, going to ask a few questions, just get in a dialogue and really just exude some of the energy that is around this sport that is growing rapidly across the U.S. We've seen it big time in here in New England, and we're seeing it out in the Southwest as well. So, Tom, welcome.
Thanks, Chad. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm really excited about this project and just helping to spread the word and spread knowledge about the game and how important of an offering that game, the game of lacrosse, actually is.
Yes, and we'll get into your project, your business project, in a couple of minutes here, and that's just, it's blowing my mind. The more I think about it, the more excited I get about the concept. So that being Earth Lacrosse. Yeah, but first, I want to ask you a couple of questions. First being, how were you first introduced to the game of lacrosse?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I was lucky enough to grow up on the East Coast in Northern Virginia. Spent a lot of time in Baltimore as well. And so when I was about 4 years old, I got my first fiddlestick. Before I even really knew what the game was, and I actually don't even remember playing with it. But my dad told me I used to take it everywhere I would go. And when we moved to Northern Virginia, my dad stumbled upon a high school lacrosse practice. Went up to the coach, and he told us that there were lacrosse camps and there were leagues, and went out, got my first lacrosse stick. It was an Excalibur, and I just started hitting the wall every day. I grew up as an only child, and lacrosse really quickly became like my older brother, and gave me things to do when I was by myself. It gave me goals. It gave me direction. It really, paved the path that I went down for. I mean, even till now, I'm still working with the game. So from that day, summer before third grade till now, it's just been lacrosse and a flowing river.
You mentioned a couple of things, Excalibur. I remember my Excalibur too. And I think I had it for 3-4 years. When it broke, man, when that stick breaks, the one that you had from square one, it's a sad day.
I know.
But the neat thing is when that stick breaks, a lot of times there's newer models that are insanely awesome.
Yeah.
So fiddlesticks, I remember the fiddlesticks as well. So it's also unique. You mentioned it's your older brother. That's a great
absolutely.
Great way of describing it. So here's another quick question. You have an immense passion for educating, not only on the game of lacrosse, but also on its origin. How has learning about the origin of the game of lacrosse changed your thought about the game, changed your thought about life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I, like most other players, I started playing and I knew that it was a Native American sport, but it's a lot of times I kind of feel like that it's lip service in a way. We say, hey, this is a Native American sport, and then we go right into line drills. We don't give it that much time. And as I continued to play, and I just fell in love with the game. My junior year in high school, I wrote a term paper, my 26-page full year term paper on the history of lacrosse, and I learned about why we call it lacrosse. It's a French word. And the French missionaries came over, and when they interacted with the natives, they saw that the shape of the stick reflected the same shape on shepherds. They have this thing called a cross with shepherds, and it's like this question mark shaped thing. And I learned that they called it the little brother of war in the native language. And that was kind of my first introduction that lacrosse was more than a game. It was a way to settle disputes. And as I continued to study, I learned that it was even more than that. That I think many people say, oh, they used to play lacrosse and it was vicious and brutal. They played it instead of killing each other. That's only a small aspect. When you study it more, you realize that it was a medicine game, and they played to heal each other. They played because it pleased the creator. Literally, it's the creator's game. And the more I bought in and the more I learned, the more I was just like, oh my gosh, these cultures are so rich. These indigenous cultures have so much knowledge that we could use today. You look at the world around us and there's a lot of dissension. There's a lot of bickering and a lot of war, really. And the game is a way to bridge those gaps. Those two sides can come together through the game. And it's completely shifted how I went through my life, where I wanted to go. One of the main reasons I went to Hawaii is to get closer to the land, to study more indigenous cultures and try to live as close to the environment as I could. Yeah.
And from what I learned from you and from what I'm learned otherwise, the game eventually became something to unite people as opposed to separate. And it did have a dispute tone to it, but then over time, people became united. And we've had conversations in the past where no matter where you go, if you have a lacrosse stick in your car and you see some people, say, on the beach throwing around, you grab your stick, get out there and you throw them with them, and it's an instantaneous unity. And that's something pretty amazing. I don't sense that about other games that I had played, other sports I had played. So the Earth Lacrosse, where did you come up with the idea for Earth Lacrosse? I'm going to let you share it, man, because it's a great concept. And then how did that originate itself?
So Earth Lacrosse was kind of a brainchild of me and my best friend Mark Reynolds, who I met right after college. I was teaching biology, coaching lacrosse, and we both ran the Wilderness Awareness Club together in Salisbury, Connecticut, at the Salisbury School. And he played at St. Joseph's, D1. He was a 3-time captain at D1. So his sophomore year was the first year he was a team captain. And we became really close in Connecticut, and then I went on to Hawaii and kind of did my journey. And about a year and a half ago, we had been just kept in touch, and we started brainstorming together and just had this idea about how to really give back to the game in a profound way, and really bringing our 3 passions together, which was, lacrosse, wilderness awareness, the environment. We're both biology teachers, and also just honoring the game. And from that, Earth Lacrosse was born. And we started about a year ago. We did overnight camps where we take the kids hiking, go up into the woods, tracking animals, learning different wilderness awareness skills, but always with a lacrosse stick in the hand. And we've been really, really blessed to have the support and participation of 3 of our really good friends, Frank, Ira, and Ag, all from the Iroquois Confederacy. Frank is a Mohawk, Ira is Seneca, and Ag is Onondaga. And they've been a really integral part of our programs from day one. And to hear the stories, to hear the history, the tradition from their mouths, it's profound. I get goosebumps thinking about it, honestly. And yeah, from there it just started to grow. We did 2 camps last summer. This summer we did 7 camps, and the more we work towards it, the more the game and the universe has brought people into our lives to further this mission of just really bringing the game back to its roots and learning how to remember that this was a game born in the environment, was born from indigenous cultures that were intrinsically connected to the natural world. So bringing the game back into nature it's perfect. It just works so well, and the kids love it, and we love it.
And I can tell the first conversation that we had, I think we connected, and a lot of times you connect with somebody expecting a 5-10 minute conversation, and I think we were on the phone for about 2 hours. Got into it just grew into something really cool. What would you say to a youngster, say youth up to low teens, who sees the sport, sees it as awesome, kind of wants to get out there but feels a little overwhelmed because there's so much to it?
Yeah, absolutely. What I would say is get the stick in your hand. Get the stick in your hand and go out by yourself when no one's watching and just mess around. Because like you said a little bit earlier, nowadays lacrosse is a sport, but originally, and it still is truly a game. It's a game. And for me, the difference between sport and game is that we play games for fun. The end goal in a game is an uplifting, positive feeling of fun. That's what lacrosse is. And lacrosse can be anything. Lacrosse can be a hike in the woods with your stick and a ball and your dog, and you're just throwing it. Lacrosse can be you and your best friend in your backyard shooting on net or just trying to hit trees. Anything. As long as your intention is to have fun, that will happen. Especially when you put that stick in your hand. There's a lot of power in the lacrosse stick. It's a really profound, powerful object for facilitating a deeper connection with yourself, with nature, and just with fun.
I agree. You mentioned getting shivers up your spine when you hear people talk about the origination and in particular the Native American population and how deep of a root system it is within that culture, to the degree that when they're born they get a lacrosse stick in their crib. Yeah, and they have that. Yeah. And for the entire life. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Frank's first gift ever was a lacrosse stick. They have these little miniature wooden hand carved, hand woven lacrosse sticks that's placed right next to them in their bed. And that was the first gift that all three of them ever received. It's amazing. Frank learned to walk with that little lacrosse stick in his hand, almost as a cane.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is pretty incredible. And actually, just one sec. On my door back here, I think I was given this at a tag sale. Someone walked up to me. They said, "Yeah, you like lacrosse, right?" I said, "Yeah." Well, they're like, "Here, take this. I don't need it anymore." And now this has tremendous meaning because the sticks are actually carved out of a tree. I mean, this is all one piece of wood. It's not multiple pieces of wood.
Absolutely.
And they turn it. I mean, there are videos online. You can get anything online, but there are videos online on how they form these, how they build them. And you watch on YouTube, if you want to get shivers up your spine, you're listening to Thompson Brothers and their family talking about the game of lacrosse. And we all know, I mean, that they're a household name now. And absolutely. They're amazing players, but they're out there, like you just emphasized, to play the game. Yeah. And it just so happens that they're just amazing at the sport, but they're out there to play the game. What is your vision for Earth Lacrosse, say in the next 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years, yeah, that's a great question. So being in New Mexico is a really unique opportunity because the game is so young here. So I really feel grateful to be in a space in the Southwest at a time when the game is on the verge of exploding. And that's what lacrosse does. It just has exponential growth everywhere it is. And so to be able to be in this little hub of young lacrosse players and a young lacrosse community, and to be able to really spread a message of connection, communion, and respecting the game and its roots is an awesome opportunity for us. We also really see this program expanding way beyond New Mexico. and I have a lot of connections. Both Mark and I have a lot of connections all up the East Coast and the West Coast as well, where lacrosse is really booming. And be able to move back into those traditional lacrosse hotbeds and bring a even more traditional message, I think is a really, really huge goal for us to help remind the lacrosse community in areas where it's so established why we play, where it came from, and how to honor the game. You know, I think one of the things that I've learned in the past year while having the opportunity to work with Frank, AG, and Ira is an even more clear way of honoring the game, and to bring that message to places where lacrosse has been played for a very long time. That really excites me, and I think that's one of our main goals, is to really branch out into the traditional hotbeds to spread the message that we're trying to spread.
It's almost like a rebirth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're playing the game, getting back to, like you said at the beginning of the call, to where the game began, so that it's not the type of thing where coaches get out there and, oh yeah, this is an Native American game, and then they get into their skills. You know, they really get into the root. And I'm excited this year, just having had conversations with you and other people as well, as we get into our season, teaching the kids about the root of the game and really emphasizing that before tryouts even begin, so that the kids have more of a sense of unity and they're on a different page chemistry-wise before they even pick up their sticks and start practicing for the season. So cool, man. So this will serve as, like, as we were talking before, pilot. You know, we're definitely looking to hear your story about living off the grid in Hawaii and the transition to New Mexico, and just the evolution of Earth Lacrosse to this point, having had a year under your belt, and continue to follow you as it unfolds. We talked also about having some guests on. Again, this podcast is the unnamed podcast at this point, having youth, high school, collegiate, pro guests on here to share their experience with the sport. Obviously come on and help with some training tips. And like Tom, you did a great job with the youth, youth who may be playing a sport in the spring and they're kind of looking for something else, and letting them know, just get that stick in your hands, get out, throw off the wall, and get used to it. Cause I'm in the same boat, man. When I was 7th grade, my buddy came down the street, handed me a lacrosse stick. I had no clue what it was. I remember it like it was yesterday. Handed me the stick, and I didn't know what it was. And we started throwing around on the side yard, and it was a legit love that occurred in that moment with the sport, with the game, just what it entails, and what unfolded for me too was pretty stellar. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much for being on here, and we'll
thank you, Chad. I really appreciate the time.
Very welcome. So we'll record this and keep these going. Just keep the energy flowing in a positive direction and have a whole bunch of fun.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate the outlet. There's so much information that's out there, and there's so many different avenues to disseminate that information. And I feel like what we're doing right now is really a positive impact on the game.
I agree. So thanks, and that's nationwide. And
absolutely,
I'm excited. Thank you everyone for popping in, and we'll be out there again real soon. So enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thank you.